Welcome, Neo-Ginian. Is morality objective, or is it a subjective construct shaped by our experiences, cultures, and upbringings? Let's pause and ponder on this question. We often consider morality as a universal, inherent truth. We're taught to distinguish between right and wrong, good and evil. But have we ever stopped to question the basis of these moral judgments? Morality is a product of human society, a complex tapestry woven from the threads of our experiences, cultures, and upbringings. Each society, each culture, each individual brings a unique perspective to the table, painting a different picture of what is morally acceptable and what is not. Consider this. What one society holds as morally good, another might view with disdain. An act considered virtuous in a particular culture could be seen as immoral in another. This divergence in moral standards across societies is a reflection of the subjectivity of morality. But what does it mean for morality to be subjective? It implies that our moral judgments are not inherent truths that exist independently of us. Instead, they are constructs, born out of our shared experiences and social interactions. They are shaped by our cultural norms, societal expectations, and personal beliefs. We are not born with a moral compass. Instead, it is calibrated by the society we grow up in, guided by the values and principles it upholds. Over time, these moral codes become so deeply ingrained in us that we often fail to recognize their inherent subjectivity. The subjectivity of morality is a fascinating concept, one that challenges our understanding of right and wrong. It pushes us to question, to reason, and to reflect on the nature of our moral judgments. In essence, it asks us to consider the possibility that there may not be a single universal standard of morality. Instead, there may be as many moral truths as there are societies, cultures, and individuals. Moral judgments, therefore, are not universal truths, but societal constructs. How does our upbringing and indoctrination shape our moral compass? This question lays bare the significant role our families and communities play in the formation of our moral codes. From a tender age, we are taught what is right and what is wrong, what is acceptable and what is not. We imbibe these teachings and they form the bedrock of our moral judgments. Yet, it's crucial to recognize that these moral values, like a childhood blanket, are deeply ingrained in us. They provide comfort and a sense of identity, and yet, they might not always stand up to scrutiny. They might not always reflect the deeper, more nuanced truths of life and humanity. For instance, a child taught to see the world in absolutes may struggle to understand and appreciate the many shades of gray that exist in between. Indoctrination, a potent tool of upbringing, can craft a biased view of morality. It can paint a black and white picture of the world, inhibiting the ability to see beyond the confines of these teachings. It can erect walls around our understanding, limiting our perspectives, and making it challenging to accept or even comprehend differing moral viewpoints. A child taught that their values are the right values could grow into an adult who struggles to respect or appreciate the moral beliefs of others. This sort of upbringing can foster intolerance and hinder the development of empathy, two elements fundamentally at odds with a harmonious society. The moral values we inherit from our family and community come with their own set of biases and limitations. They are often a product of a specific socio-cultural context, and while they can provide a useful guide, they should not be seen as the ultimate moral truth. So, while upbringing and indoctrination play a pivotal role in shaping our moral compass, it's essential to recognize their limitations and biases. We must learn to question, to explore, and to think critically about the moral codes we have been handed down. Only then can we truly understand and appreciate the vast, complex landscape of human morality. Our moral view can be inhibited, confined within the boundaries of our teachings. But remember, we are not bound by these confines. We have the ability, the power to venture beyond and seek our own moral truths. How do our emotions influence our moral judgments? Well, emotions play a significant role in our moral compass. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, and compassion, the concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others, are two key emotions that guide our moral decisions. But it's not just about empathy and compassion. Societal expectations also shape our moral choices. We often make decisions based on what we believe is acceptable in our society, or what we think others expect from us. Now, here's where it gets a bit tricky. Our personal experiences can influence and complicate these judgments. For instance, someone who has experienced hardship might have a different perspective on what's right or wrong compared to someone who's led a relatively comfortable life. So emotions, influenced by our personal experiences and societal norms, add layers of complexity to our moral judgments. Emotions, therefore, make our moral judgments multifaceted and diverse. How do culture and religion shape our moral codes? It's a question that sparks a journey through the labyrinth of human society, a journey that reveals the intriguing subjectivity of morality. For centuries, cultures and religions around the globe have defined their unique moral codes, their own sense of what is virtuous and what is not. From the strictures of Confucianism in East Asia to the community-focused values of African Ubuntu philosophy, the moral compass of a society is as diverse as the people who inhabit it. Consider the religious doctrines that many societies lean on. They often serve as a moral framework, a guide to navigate the turbulent seas of life. The 10 Commandments in Christianity, the 5 precepts in Buddhism, the yamas and niyamas in Hinduism. These are all examples of religious teachings that have shaped the moral ethos of their followers. But while these doctrines provide guidance, they can also be restrictive, especially when they resist adaptation to evolving societal norms. Imagine trying to sail across the ocean with an ancient map. You would surely find yourself lost, for the world has changed and so have its moral landscapes. In some societies, for instance, gender equality is a highly valued moral principle, while in others, traditional gender roles are still rigidly enforced. The same could be said about issues like freedom of speech, LGBTQ+ rights, and even dietary choices. What is seen as morally acceptable in one culture might be frowned upon in another. This is not to dismiss the importance of cultural or religious moral codes. They often offer valuable insights into ethical living and foster a sense of community. However, it's essential to recognize their limitations. Like a painter who only uses one color, relying solely on a single cultural or religious moral framework can limit our moral perspective. It's through understanding and respecting the diversity of moral values across cultures and religions that we can truly appreciate the rich tapestry of human morality. And perhaps by doing so, we can create a more inclusive and empathetic world. Cultural and religious constructs often provide a moral framework, but can also limit our moral perspective. How does our cognitive development influence our moral beliefs? Well, let's dive into that. You see, clinging to rigid moral beliefs can act as a roadblock to our cognitive development. This is where moral relativism steps in. It's the understanding that moral judgments aren't universal, but are relative to a specific culture or individual. So, why does this matter? Moral relativism allows for intellectual growth. It encourages us to question, to think critically, rather than blindly accepting societal norms. It's about empathy, about understanding different perspectives, even if they clash with our own. This approach helps us see the complexity in moral issues, allowing us to navigate them with a broader perspective. So when we embrace moral relativism, we're not just accepting that morality is subjective, we're also opening our minds to the possibility of growth, of understanding the world in a more nuanced way. Embracing moral relativism encourages intellectual growth and a broader perspective on morality. What happens when we accept the absence of absolute objective morality? Imagine a world where moral principles aren't set in stone, where they aren't bound by the unyielding shackles of inflexibility. A world where morality isn't a rigid framework, but a dynamic, ever-evolving construct. This is the world we inhabit when we acknowledge the absence of objective morality. In such a world, moral principles aren't fixed, unchanging axioms. Rather, they are fluid, capable of adapting and evolving as societies progress. They are shaped by a myriad of factors: cultural norms, personal experiences, societal changes, and intellectual growth. They are not dictated by any single absolute truth, but are influenced by a multitude of relative truths, each as valid as the next. This fluidity of morality, this absence of absolute objectivity, allows for a more inclusive and compassionate world. It creates space for diverse moral perspectives and values, fostering greater understanding and empathy among individuals. It acknowledges the richness and complexity of human experience, respecting the differing moral judgments that arise from it. In this world, morality is not a tool for division and conflict, but a bridge for connection and unity. It doesn't confine us within narrow boxes of right and wrong, but encourages us to explore the vast spectrum of moral possibilities. It invites us to question, to reflect, to engage in dialogue, to learn and grow. But this world isn't just a hypothetical scenario, it's our reality. Each day we navigate a complex moral landscape, making decisions based on our individual and collective understanding of what's right and wrong. We may not always agree, but that's the beauty of it. It's through these disagreements, these exchanges of different moral viewpoints, that we learn, evolve, and ultimately progress as a society. The absence of absolute objective morality allows for the evolution of moral principles, fostering a more inclusive and compassionate world.